Hi, I'm Litvarski and I want to tell you about my newest acquirement, which is the Amiga 2000 Cherry MX keyboard. I will tell something about the history of these keyboards and do some minor comparisons with other keyboards. So let's switch cameras. Here is the Cherry MX keyboard of Amiga 2000. Amiga 2000 had actually three different variations of the keyboard. So there were Cherry MX keyboards, then there were high-tech keyboards, high-tech, which is HI and TEK, not high-tech but high-tech. And then after that there were Mitsumi keyboards, which are the most common keyboards. And actually, I have a Mitsumi keyboard here. So let's do some comparison of these. So this is the Cherry MX keyboard, and this is the Mitsumi keyboard. So if you don't think about the yellowing, this is quite yellow. What you see is that some visual things. So the function keys have a different font. So the font is little bit smaller, and the buttons are also smaller than here, because it doesn't go this far, the buttons on this Cherry MX keyboard. And the F1 is placed differently here and here. Here it's in the middle and here it's in the upper corner. Same with other function keys as well. Then you see that the sticker is quite different. So here it plainly says that Amiga 2000 with quite a small font. Here it says there's a Commodore logo. You cannot really see it if I don't show you it. How is it? Here you can see that there's the Commodore logo. Then it says Commodore Amiga 2000, which is with a very different font than the Cherry MX version. Font on the alphabets the font is different in the sense that the lines are much thicker. So here, well, yeah, you can notice it from the camera as well. That here these are very well defined, and here, of course, you can see here the alphabets as well, but here they are more defined or something. Oh yeah, of course. One thing is that this is a Scandinavian keyboard, Scandinavian layout. You have the A and Ö and Swedish O, whereas this is the English American layout. You have some buttons were in different places and no these Scandinavian characters. Then the caps lock LED here is in the bottom, whereas here in the Mitsumi keyboard you have the LED in the right upper corner. So this is very different. And the space bar has these spaces. Yeah, these small spaces between the space bar and the Amiga buttons, whereas here there's nothing between. So maybe visually that's pretty much all. Oh yeah, not all. The one very distinguishing thing is that the Cherry MX has the Amiga buttons have the Amiga logo, or the the A in here in these Amiga buttons are red, whereas everything else is in black. In the Mitsumi keyboards, every alphabet or number or A here, they saw everything. Everything here is black, but these are red. So let's do a small comparison then with the even earlier keyboard. So here's the Amiga 1000 keyboard, and this also has the red A and A. Caps lock is actually here a bit similar to the Mitsumi 2000 keyboard, because it has this LED on the. You have a small circle, whereas here you have the LED on the bottom of the. You have this kind of an. You can almost see the whole LED. Maybe I could show that actually a little bit closer. That's how it looks like, the LED on the caps lock. So it's a rectangular piece. So, well, these are pretty different. So, for example, in the numpad, you miss the extra buttons here altogether. So you have just the numbers, and you have a dot and a can't remember which is minus. And the what's these arrow keys? Yeah, these are in very different format to the rest of the Amiga keyboards. So here you have already this modern layout, so you can use your middle finger to have these up and down arrows, but here you have these in this diamond shape. It's not that uncommon in the keyboards of that time. But the modern layout is this obviously. Yeah, so these are pretty much different, but you can see that the red A's are inspired from this Amiga 1000 keyboard. So these are the only keyboards which have these red A's. Yeah, so let's talk about the feel of this keyboard. So I received this today and I wanted to check how it feels, and just pressing these buttons, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a slight metallic sound here. Depends on my mic if you can hear it. So when I press the buttons, then there's a slight metallic echo. But anyway, I immediately recognized that this is very peculiar feel on this keyboard. So I recognized immediately that it's similar to this Commodore PC1 keyboard I had. This I received last month probably. So So this one is the for the Commodore PC line, and here it just says Commodore on the sticker, and this has very similar feel to the keys. Visually these are pretty different, of course, because this is a PC keyboard, and they had to be made differently. No help button, for example, and there has to be the Alt Control Del combination. There's also a brake button and such things. You cannot see it that well, so I'll show it a bit closer. So this is the Commodore PC1 keyboard I got. And I said that they feel very same. And this is because you see that when we take one key off, let's put it here. So you see this is a Cherry MX black version switch. So these are so Cherry MX is an old company which made switches, and eventually they made switches for keyboards, and they patented their Cherry MX switch in 1983 or 4. I think it was 3, and they got the patent 1 year after, and the patent expired 20 years afterwards, and they started to make clones of the Cherry MX. We'll come back into that in a small while, but like that. Actually we could, yeah, well, yeah. Here you see, when looking close, that this also is a Cherry MX black version, just like this Commodore PC has. Maybe I'll show you the keycaps themselves. They appear very much the same. You cannot really see much difference here. Only the yellowing tells that this one goes here and this one goes here. But yeah, they made some clones nowadays. So this is my PC keyboard I use. This one, let's switch it off. So that goes very easily. You see that these are quite modern switches this uses, and actually looks very much the same as the Amiga 2000 Cherry MX switch, only that this one is red. And actually this is not a Cherry MX switch, but it is a Gateron switch, which is one clone of Cherry MX switches, which has a little bit different feel to it. So it's when I compare these this feels quite a lot smoother actually. I'd say these have more friction. That's the word. These just go down like butter. But yeah, that's about the modern keyboard. And then yeah, of course, I'll have to show you the switch of the Mitsumi keyboard, which is this most common Amiga 2000 keyboard. So here, this is very different. So you have this rubber thing here, which acts as a spring, and then the keycap connects to this hole here. There's a small moving part here. Anyway, the keycap connects to this part here, and the spring here, this rubbery spring, has the effect that now that the keycap is off, the gravity makes this greenish thing here go down. However, when we have the rubbery spring on here, it makes it so that the keycap connects to the green thing, and then gravity is not enough to hold it in place when I lift the finger away. So the rubbery spring springs the keycap right up. And yeah, so is this a mechanical keyboard then? And is this a mechanical keyboard? That's actually a good question, because how do you define a mechanical keyboard? Of the Amiga 2000 keyboards, you usually say that this Cherry MX keyboard is a mechanical keyboard. Then the high-tech keyboard, which I don't have, is a mechanical keyboard. And then this might not be such a mechanical keyboard. You saw the mechanism, and there are moving parts and there's a switch, so what defines a mechanical keyboard? Well, I don't really know. But this I have read that you could call these switches hybrid mechanical switches. So there's something in between the mechanical keyboards like the Cherry MX and something non-mechanical, which are these. For example, I have a new keyboard which I believe has a rubber dome switch. So I don't think I can take these keys off actually. These are so small, but these have a different mechanism, and usually the modern keyboards have so-called rubber dome keyboards, which are they are cheap to produce. And then you have mechanical keyboards, which are then mostly thought of as similar to the Cherry MX keyboards, which these are. But anyway, not looking at the rubber dome at all. But yeah, I didn't yet show the Amiga 1000 switches. So yeah, you notice from the keycap itself that this has a different look to it than the Cherry MX switch or Cherry MX keycap. And these actually are Mitsumi keycaps and Mitsumi switches. So these keycaps are interchangeable between the, well, for example, the Mitsumi keyboard I have for the Amiga 2000. But you see that these are actually what you would call a mechanical keyboard. So there's this switch here, very much different than from the rubbery thing. Well, the rubber was a spring, not the switch itself, but you know, the definitions are hard. So these are Mitsumi mechanical switches, whereas the Amiga 2000 Mitsumi are not mechanical or hybrid mechanical or something different. Whatever you want to call them. So now that we have seen the switches, then how do these compare with their feel? Well, let's take the obvious example first. So here's the Amiga 2000 keyboard Mitsumi, and this is still the Cherry MX, like has been for the whole video. So this is what you would call an linear, these switches here in this case, they are what you would call a linear switch. So this means that when you have to apply some force to the key when you press them down to make them go down. When I push this down, then it really goes linearly down. Whereas these Mitsumi switches, they are so-called tactile switches, so that when I push it down, it stops at some point, actually. Then I have to apply more pressure to it, of course. Oh, this key is not so. Yeah, this key is the better example. So I apply a very small amount of force first, and nothing happens actually. Then I apply a little bit more, and finally it collapses. It goes down completely actually. So there's this at some point when you press the button down, there's a certain threshold you have to reach before the key starts to go down more. So I'll start pressing down, and now it's down. Whereas here I start pressing down, it goes linearly. So this goes linearly, and this kind of collapses completely. So there's a very big difference to the feel of these buttons keys. So this is what you call a linear switch, and this has this tactility, so that you have to really press it more to make it go down at some point. This is because this has these rubber springs, and they kind of collapse when you press them, and then they apply some force to make it go up, but there's really this collapsement happening. So let's compare to the Amiga 1000 keyboard. So these were also Mitsumi's, but these were Mitsumi mechanical keyboards. So these are mechanical, but these are actually tactile. So there's this small threshold you have to reach before it does start to go down. Well, it really depends on the key. So most of them go a little bit down first. Then there's the tactile part, and then it goes down. So when pressing this, that's not completely down. So when you press these buttons individually, these are slightly tactile. However, the tactility is much smaller than in the Amiga 2000 keyboard, Mitsumi keyboard, because in that it was very clear that it was a tactile keyboard, but here the threshold is much smaller. The threshold you have to reach before it starts to go down. The threshold is much smaller in these keys. So if you press these with a little bit more force, then you might not notice the tactility. So these are still pretty linear, approximately linear. Whereas these are really, there's no tactility at all I could notice. Here they are small tactility. And then about the modern keyboard still. Oh yeah. These are very linear. The only difference between these was this, that here there's some friction. They don't go down such as easily as these do. But these both are linear. Whereas this one with the rubber dome, this is again tactile, so that you press it down, then it finally, when you reach the threshold, then it goes down. These are not linear. So then, yeah, let's take a little bit closer look at the insides. So what you need to open this keyboard here, you need a flat screwdriver, because as you can see there are no screws here at all. There's these small things which you have to bend a little bit so that the keyboard opens up. So how do I do this? I do some small amount of bending here, and then I pull these two pieces apart. Maybe like that. Then the same thing here. This was quite stubborn. Actually, let's start from another place. No, wrong side. That went easily. That as well. That's good. That's as well. So now the final final clip should be going away easily. Yeah. So this is how the bottom looks like. Here you can see that here it says Cherry, and there's the logo of the Cherry company. Maybe I should bring it a bit closer if you could see it. I don't know if you can see it because yeah, it's down in here in the bottom. Yeah. And then how it looks like here. Well, what's interesting here is these chips which you have here. Here we have some information about the Amiga 2000 Cherry MX keyboard. Actually this one, yeah, so this what the one that this is, the one on this website is a revision 2 Cherry MX keyboard, whereas what I have is a revision 1. So there seem to be some differences. The main point what I was interested in here was that well, this was an AMD chip with version 467, because the version number is the same. I think this is correct, just that the EEPROM happens to be an AMD EEPROM. This number is the same on the first chip, and this is same on the second chip. And then there's this oscillator or crystal 6 MHz. But this was very different. So what he has on this revision 2 PCB, he has an Intel chip from 1977. When you look at what I have on my revision 1 PCB, it's actually a NEC, this one, this chip I'm talking about. It's a NEC Ireland chip. This is definitely not an Intel chip. But well, it's a different revision and it has different chips, or this chip at least. So that was what I found puzzling for a while there. But the main point I had for this PCB is that there is no MOS chips at all. So other Amiga keyboards, as far as I know, every other Amiga keyboard has a MOS controller chip. This one does not have MOS. So that's quite peculiar about this keyboard. No MOS whatsoever here. Unless the resistors are made by MOS, but then if you want to think about the other Amigas for the 3600, 1200, 4000 CD TV, then these all are Mitsumi keyboards. So there's only difference that you might have is, as far as I know, is that at least when I checked my 1200 and my 500, which are Mitsumis, they had instead of the rubbery spring, they had a metallic spring, and they felt much better than the rubbery spring. For me, at least, they appeared quite linear actually. Whereas the 4000 and 3000, which I have the keyboards, they are actually, let's say it's a camera. So the 3000 and 4000 keyboards, which I have, they have the rubbery spring, and they actually 3000. I think this one has a spring, metallic spring. Let's just check that. Okay, that was not good. Yeah, this had a metallic spring, and now I'll have to find this spring. Yeah, well, but yeah, that's all from me this time, and oh, just it's here. Found it already. That was pretty dramatic ending. Anyway, that's all it for me, and thanks for watching.